Hey everyone, it's Lynnea. I'm going to make the most adorable winter snow scene postcard, and I'm going to be using a lot of products from the LDRS Creative Cozy Corners collection. I'm going to be using the postcard stamp, the country road, the distress backgrounds, and then also the sealed for all occasion stamps. I thought about using the Me to You holiday sentiments, and I ended up not using them, but you could definitely switch out the sentiment I used for one of those if you wanted to. I'm going to start with a piece of A2 white cardstock and the distress background stamp. Now this stamp is a 5x7 stamp, so it's large enough to cover the entire panel without any issues at all. I'm inking it up with alloy ink, and if you notice, I'm not even using a stamp positioner. You could if you wanted to, but I'm just find that this is easier to do. So I inked it up all over with alloy, which is LDRS Creative's gray ink. Then I have a scrap piece of paper. I laid down my white cardstock, and then I just put this piece of typing paper over the top, and I'm going to run my fingers all along that to get an even ink transfer. This is going to be a very subtle background. I kind of wanted it to look like snow falling in the background. Now here's the postcard stamp. This is just a cute little 3x4 stamp that you can use with or without the postcard sentiment. So if you just want some journaling lines somewhere, you could use this stamp for that if you wanted to. I'm going to make sure that this is straight and lined up against the right side of my panel, and then I'll ink that up with LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink, which is their dark black ink. Then I'll also stamp that little postcard sentiment right at the top as well. Now here's where I'm going to add my wintry scene. So this is the country road stamp. I'm lining the right side of that stamp up with that line, and I was a little bit off, but it doesn't really matter in the end. I'm inking this up with dark wash jeans. It's a dark navy colored ink. And don't worry about the fact that I'm not getting the top. That's okay. I'm actually going to be doing an inking technique where I keep the bottom blue and the top is going to be more black, like it's a nighttime sky. So I inked up the top with Raven Hybrid ink, and then I'm coming in just with my stamp cleaning cloth and just kind of dabbing where that black edge is so that I can get a nice gradient of color rather than a harsh line. I'm going to do this again just to deepen the color, so I added black ink towards the top and then just dabbed along the bottom of that ink line. And then I will stamp that down. So here's my finished postcard scene. All that's left to do is just add a sentiment and some little embellishments here and there. So I chose the sentiment from that stamp set that says, "All my roads lead to you." And I'm stamping it with the dark wash ink, or the dark wash jeans ink, so that it'll match that navy blue building. And as I stamped it, I realized I didn't get it straight. I thought that I did, but I'm a little bit off. I lined up the bottom curve of the A instead of with the rest of the words. So I kind of sat here for a second and decided if I wanted to start over. And in the end, I am my harshest critic, and whoever I choose to send this card to is not going to even notice that this sentiment is a little bit crooked. So I do encourage you to just kind of fly with your mistakes sometimes. Realize that people that you're sending this card to, they're just going to love it. They're not going to be worried about crooked sentiments. I'm using that same country road stamp now, and I have the two little snowflakes. There's one that's more like a star and one that's just kind of like a little smaller star, I guess, and I'm using both of them with Raven Hybrid ink, and I'm stamping them both around the sentiment and around my snowy scene. Now here's the sealed for all occasions stamps, and if you notice, these are meant to be stamped in trios so that you can stamp once and die cut once, but I just wanted this snowflake stamp. So I committed what some of you may call a stamping crime, and I cut my stamp apart. And when I did so, I made sure to stamp, or to cut rather, to cut my photopolymer in between the designs, so I'm not messing with the design, and I made sure to cut at angles so that I could just pop this right back in place and stamp them all three together when I want to. I wanted to just have one of these so that it looked like a postage stamp up in the top right hand corner, And now I'm using my Texturize It 2 stamp to add some cancellation lines to that faux stamp, as well as some other textures here and there. Texturize It 2 has become my go-to for all kinds of texture, especially this particular stamp here where it's just a cluster of different sized dots. If you know me, you know I love to add ink spatter, and sometimes this is just a cleaner way to add a little bit of spatter to my cards, just with some ink and some stamps. Now you could leave this as it is. I absolutely love this background. And I decided to cut it down and put it on a navy card base. I'm still not sure if that was the right way to go, but I did it, and so that's how it is. I trimmed off about 1/8 of an inch from each side and then added it to a navy card base, and here is my finished card. I hope you guys enjoyed this really easy tutorial. This would be a great idea for mass producing for the holidays because it's just ink, and if you keep it flat, you could even mail it as a postcard and save a little bit on postage. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.